but she had fallen into the hands of a local scam group after being tricked by her sister, Bess, into coming to Kbang. There, she endured unimaginable torment. Alice kept believing that someone would come to her rescue, especially since she had developed Sealok's most profitable drone project. She even held out hope for her fiancé Benno. However, reality delivered a crushing blow. Benno did come to Kbang, but he only took Bess with him. In front of him, Bess feigned weakness and pushed all the blame onto Alice, falsely claiming that Alice had tricked her into coming to Kbang. Before leaving, Benno even gave the scam group 30 million, telling them to treat Alice well. At that moment, Alice realized that her fiancé had been colluding with her sister all along. Their aim was to silence her. Alice swore that if she survived, she would make them pay. Alice was then transferred to an even more horrifying facility, a place where the darkest sides of humanity thrived. A girl narrowly escaped a deadly situation, and despite being unarmed, Alice bravely intervened to save her. For her bravery, Alice was subjected to even more severe torment. Just when things seemed most hopeless, a man who appeared to be the leader of the facility showed up. He scolded the others and saved Alice. Seizing the opportunity, Alice revealed her true identity. She was the child of a wealthy family and the vice president of a well-known company, claiming she had enough money to buy her freedom. The man, noticing a mark on Alice's hand, immediately recalled her, the little girl who had given him candy at the orphanage years ago. The second in command, a man wearing a gold necklace, sneered and said, "Don't believe her lies. Her fiancé only paid to rescue her sister and gave us 30 million to treat Alice well." A girl nearby attempted to beg for mercy by mentioning her family background, but the man with the gold necklace shot her without hesitation. Alice froze in shock, and just as things were taking a turn for the worse, Jason stepped in. He gestured for his men to untie Alice and handed her a phone. Alice called her parents, only to find out they had no intention of rescuing her. Since she was their adopted daughter and Bess was their biological daughter, they sided with Bess. After the call ended, the man with the gold necklace grew restless and prepared to dispose of Alice. In a moment of desperation, Alice shouted, "Spare my life and I can make you more money." She quickly dropped to her knees in front of Jason, revealing that she was the developer of Sealok's drones technology that was invaluable. In order to survive, she tried to seduce Jason with her looks. Jason grabbed her by the throat and threatened, "If you can't prove your value, I'll feed you to the dogs." Alice immediately worked her magic on a computer, showcasing her technology. It was enough to convince Jason to spare her life. Jason's mind wandered back to the past. Once a soldier, he had witnessed countless comrades falling in the chaos of battle. To destroy the scam and drug network in Kbang and protect others from falling victim, he had assumed a new identity and infiltrated the area. His sole purpose was to find the mastermind behind the operation and bring the whole organization down. Meanwhile, the man with the gold necklace was watching the news and learned about the explosion of Sealok's drones, which caused many casualties. He quickly realized the immense value of Alice's technology and reported it to Jason. Seizing the opportunity, the gold necklace man pressured Alice, demanding that she find a way to contribute another 30 million, or the performance of their operation would fail, and he wasn't about to face the wrath of his superiors. In desperation, Alice called Benno, threatening him that if he didn't send 30 million within 5 minutes, the drone explosion would affect a much larger area. Furious, Benno slammed his phone down. Bess comforted him, saying, "Don't get angry. I was involved in the drone project too. Don't worry about her." 5 minutes passed, but Alice didn't receive the funds. The gold necklace man handed Alice over to his subordinates. Jason, unable to reveal his true identity, had to endure the situation. When Alice desperately struggled and called out to him for help again, the silver necklace man taunted, "Jason can't get it up. He never plays with women." Jason lost his temper and kicked the silver necklace man out of his way. The gold necklace man smoothed things over and told Alice to seduce Jason. If she succeeded, they would spare her life. Realizing this was her only chance, Alice took the initiative, kissing Jason and using all her charm to draw him into her room. The sound from inside reassured the subordinates outside. Inside, Jason whispered, "Do you want to live? Alice trembled as she replied, yes. Just then, the news came through. The 30 million had been transferred. Alice thought she had finally secured her escape, but she was then told, this is Kbang. We don't honor our promises. You'll stay here and become our cash cow. Jason ordered a celebration feast for his subordinates, but Alice saw it as her opportunity to escape. While the others were distracted, she snuck into Jason's office, attempting to hack into the system and cut the power for 5 minutes. However, Jason caught her in the act. To cover up her true intentions, Alice pretended to be drunk and kissed him, feigning affection. I've been looking for you, she said, willing to use her body to secure her freedom. They struggled together for a while, and when Jason finally fell asleep, Alice quietly slipped away, executing her plan to shut down the power and plunge the facility into darkness. However, during her escape, she was spotted by a patrol. Alice, using all her strength, tore through the barbed wire and fled into the woods, but was ultimately caught. Furious, the gold necklace man ordered his subordinates, throw her into the snake pit. The silver necklace man suggested an even crueler form of torture. They stripped Alice of her clothes and threw her into a pit filled with even more snakes. Just as Alice was about to give in to despair, Jason appeared, pulled out his gun, and shot the silver necklace man. Coldly, he ordered, spare her life. Let her create value for the park. To maintain his authority over his subordinates, Jason was forced to allow Alice to be punished, demonstrating his loyalty. He made Alice drink a drugged concoction and locked her in a room filled with drugged men. Alice understood that this was a trial, a kind of initiation into the scam operation. In her desperation, she grabbed an iron rod and knocked one man out, then gouged another's eyes. When she faced the last man, her strength nearly depleted. Alice almost gave up. But Jason arrived just in time, ordered the men to be removed, and brought Alice the antidote. Weak and trembling, Alice clung to Jason, choking on her words. I'll never try to escape again. After Alice finished washing up, she hugged Jason, trying to soothe his emotions. Unexpectedly, the man suddenly pushed her down onto the bed, his voice cold and commanding. Why didn't you listen? Alice feigned helplessness, hoping to play it off, but Jason had already lost his patience. He turned on the TV, forcing her to watch the latest news. On the screen, Benno was declaring to the public that Bess was the head of Sealock's drone project, claiming that many of the key technologies were developed by Bess. He also placed the blame for the drone explosion squarely on Alice, accusing her of sabotaging her sister out of jealousy. Alice was filled with rage upon learning they had stolen her achievements. Her eyes burned with hatred, and she quietly vowed, I will make them wish they were never born. Jason mocked Alice, claiming that she had already outlived her usefulness to the park. To stay alive, Alice took the initiative to seduce him, suggesting that she could upgrade the park security system and mass-produce a new type of drone to prove her value. She whispered, whatever you want, I can give it to you. Jason kissed her fiercely, then coldly ordered, no more games. That night, they tangled together, unable to stop. Since Alice had aligned herself with Jason, no one dared to challenge her in the park. However, the silver necklace man, foolishly daring, threw soup at Alice, only to be kicked away by Jason. He fell to the ground, bowing and begging for forgiveness. The gold necklace man, witnessing this, darkened his face and reminded Alice not to get too cocky. Silver Necklace brought in millions of dollars in revenue for the park every month. Alice, uninterested, simply led Jason to see her latest work. The upgraded security system was impenetrable, with electric fences surrounding the park. The drones were now capable of transporting 2 kilograms of goods and had a self-destruct function to destroy evidence in case they were captured by the police. Seeing this, the gold necklace man immediately suggested to Jason, as long as we keep her satisfied, we can go to the second park and live a life of luxury. Alice seized the opportunity to propose that Jason take her shopping outside the park, hiding her escape plan. In the mall fitting room, she took advantage of the situation while flirting with him to steal his wallet, then wrote a distress message on a piece of paper. Alice tried to bribe a street vendor using the money in Jason's wallet, but because the vendor only accepted Kbang currency, her attempt failed. During a moment of chaos, She was bumped by a passerby, and the money fell out of her wallet. When the passerby returned it, the gold necklace man appeared, snatching the wallet away. Alice's heart raced, but she tried not to show any signs of panic. Later, while shopping, the gold necklace man noticed the vendor refusing to accept the money because it had been stained with food. He found the distress note hidden between the bills. With a smug grin, he took both Alice and Jason to the dungeon. Jason was injected with a sedative and hooked up to a lie detector for interrogation. Alice overheard some key information. Jason had come from Sunshine Orphanage and immediately remembered that he was the boy she had given candy to years ago. His name was the same. Jason successfully passed the interrogation, and the crisis was temporarily averted. But when it was Alice's turn to be interrogated, the gold necklace man had to leave due to a situation in the park involving an escape attempt. When Alice woke up, she found herself lying in Jason's arms. He whispered a warning, "You didn't say anything you shouldn't, but I know you're thinking of escaping again." As the sounds of the listeners approached, Jason kissed Alice passionately to cover up the tension. Just then, the silver necklace man barged in, mocking, "You still have time for women?" Alice played along, acting arrogantly, and ultimately, the silver necklace man led them away to deal with the escapee. Jason's crisis was temporarily averted, and the gold necklace man, now fully acknowledging Jason's authority, called him boss again. However, the real escapee turned out to be Jason's teammate. Realizing that his mission might fail, Jason made the decision to get captured on purpose. He admitted that the money was his, while the escapee pretended to harbor hatred for Jason, blaming him for everything. In the end, the escapee was executed in brutal fashion. Mark, the leader of the second park, came to taunt Jason. "So you dared to betray Kbang? Was it for this slightly attractive little bitch?" Alice responded with a cold laugh. "My worth is unmatched. Now I am loyal to Kbang." As she spoke, she manipulated the computer, and within moments, everyone received the news of a massive explosion involving Sealock's drones. Later, when they were alone, Alice confronted Jason. "The person who died was your teammate, right? You came from Sunshine Orphanage. You were that boy, weren't you?" She tried to check his tattoos to confirm but found nothing. Nevertheless, she was convinced that Jason was a good person. After all, why else would he save her time and time again? Jason's response was cold. "It's only because you're valuable." Alice had already developed feelings for him after all his acts of rescue. She tested him, saying, "I can help you escape this place." Jason suppressed his emotions and coldly replied, "The weak can't escape Kbang. You're too weak." Alice refused to let him go, whether it was out of love or to use his power. She clung to his leg, declaring firmly, "I'll prove that I'm not weak." Jason ordered his men to lock Alice up in a dungeon filled with corpses, his voice as cold as ice. "You say you're not weak. Let's see how brave you really are." Moments later, Alice, unable to endure the suffocating atmosphere, screamed, "Your target is 1 billion short, right? I can help you reach it." Alice knew that the drone explosion had put Benno on the brink of losing his position, facing a public relations crisis and pressure from the board. She called him and offered to help him out of the mess, with the condition that he wired 2 billion immediately. Although Benno was furious, he chose to compromise to avoid his downfall, transferring the money even though he was on the verge of bankruptcy. To avoid complete ruin, he would have to accept a larger company's investment. A month later, Alice successfully completed the new drone. As night fell, they shared a passionate moment to cover up the tension before the mission. Under the cover of darkness, they ventured into the woods, successfully launching the drone and pretending to be involved in a field exercise to conceal their actions. However, the gold necklace man's subordinates soon discovered the chip left behind in the woods. The gold necklace man confronted Jason with the chip, but Alice and Jason had already planned everything. Jason smirked, "This chip has already been used. Are you trying to frame me?" Before the gold necklace man could react, Jason decisively ended his life. Alice and Jason boarded a luxurious cruise ship, preparing for a grand event hosted by the shadowy leaders of Kbang. They secretly plotted their next moves while exchanging playful banter and dreaming of a future together. But when Alice came face to face with the mastermind behind it all, she recognized William, the man who had once pursued her, only to be rejected in favor of Benno. To her surprise, he was the son of Basha, a wealthy philanthropist who was known for her charitable endeavors. William openly humiliated Alice, but she responded with charm, coyly leaning in to show him the 3 billion kbang had earned from the drone project she had developed. She played her part, gaining his trust. As the gala began, Alice changed into a stunning gown and concealed the drone's remote detonation device, waiting for the signal to strike. Meanwhile, Silver Necklace had revealed Jason's true identity as an undercover agent. William immediately ordered his capture. When the Coast Guard drew closer, Alice triggered the explosion signal on the cruise, and she and Jason made a daring escape. Back at Sealock, the company was preparing to welcome an investment from Basha, but the matriarch insisted on meeting Alice first, seeing through the incompetence of Bess, who had only bought her degree. In a dramatic twist, Alice appeared at the gala with Jason, publicly exposing Benno and Bess's crimes. Furious, Benno tried to attack Alice, but Jason swiftly intervened, breaking his hand with a single blow. Basha, realizing the danger Kbang was in, was quickly informed that William had been killed and Kbang had fallen into chaos. She immediately left, but not before Alice revealed to the board the truth about Beija's son. "You were almost working with terrorists. Beija's son is the founder of Kbang," Alice declared. With the loss of their investor, Benno went bankrupt. As he spiraled, Bess tried to console him, suggesting they capture Alice and offer her to Basha in exchange for investment. However, Alice and Jason celebrated the success of their operation aboard the cruise, sharing a passionate kiss and relishing in the peace they had earned for one night. But the next day, Bess, along with a group of henchmen, captured Alice. Benno tried to assault her, but Jason arrived just in time, ordering his men to imprison Benno and arrest Bess. Basha, however, met her end in the explosion orchestrated by Alice and Jason. In the aftermath, Jason and Alice founded their own company together. At the opening ceremony, Jason proposed to Alice, marking the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. The couple, once entangled in the web of Kbang's corruption, now looked toward a brighter, freer future.